Here's something that might surprise you. The greatest investors in history spend up to 80% of their time just reading and thinking, not trading. And today we're exploring why that counterintuitive approach is actually key to their success.
That's fascinating. What exactly are they reading that makes such a difference?
Well, we've done a lot of work over the years looking and analyzing the behavior of the great investors. And one thing we've found is they're reading everything from financial statements to psychology books to history. But here's what's really interesting. It's not just about absorbing information. These investors have developed 10 specific attributes that set them apart, and some of them are pretty surprising.
I'm guessing being good with numbers is one of them.
That's right, numeracy is fundamental, but get this. The report suggests that understanding behavioral psychology might be just as important. These top investors spend enormous amounts of time studying their own biases and working to overcome them.
So it's almost like being part mathematician, part psychologist?
Exactly. And here's where it gets really interesting. These investors have developed what they call probabilistic thinking. Instead of trying to predict exactly what will happen, they think in terms of probabilities and scenarios. It's like playing chess, but with infinite possible moves. And
that must require an incredible amount of mental discipline.
You know what's fascinating? The report actually talks about how these investors use something called Bayes' theorem. It's a mathematical formula for updating your beliefs based on new evidence, but they don't just apply it to numbers. They use it for everything from market analysis to understanding competitive advantages.
How do they actually put that into practice in the real world?
Well, take Warren Buffett as an example. When he invested in Apple, he wasn't just looking at the financial statements. He was analyzing the psychological lock-in of the Apple ecosystem, the cultural significance of the brand, and the probability of sustained competitive advantage. It's this multi-dimensional thinking that sets the great ones apart.
That's quite different from how most people approach investing.
Oh, absolutely. And here's another counterintuitive finding. The best investors often spend more time studying failure than success. They're constantly asking, what could go wrong and what am I missing? It's this systematic approach to understanding risk that helps them avoid major mistakes.
So what happens when they do make mistakes? Because surely even the best investors get things wrong sometimes.
That's where another fascinating attribute comes in, their ability to update their views. Our work shows that great investors have this remarkable capacity to admit when they're wrong and change course quickly. They're not emotionally attached to their positions.
That must be incredibly difficult when you have millions or billions at stake.
Exactly right. And that's why position sizing is so crucial. These investors have developed sophisticated frameworks for deciding not just what to invest in, but how much to invest. They're constantly balancing potential returns against risks, using probability-weighted scenarios to guide their decisions.
How do they maintain that kind of disciplined thinking in the face of market chaos?
You know what's interesting? Our work suggests they actually thrive on market volatility. They've trained themselves to distinguish between what they call information and influence. When markets are panicking, they're looking for signals in the noise, opportunities that others might miss because they're too caught up in the emotion of the moment.
That's making me think about all the market cycles we've seen over the past few decades.
And that's precisely why continuous learning is so vital. The report emphasizes that the best investors are constantly evolving their approach. They recognize that what worked in the past might not work in the future, especially with the rise of artificial intelligence and passive investing.
What's the single most important lesson for someone trying to improve their investment skills?
The report suggests it's the ability to think independently while remaining humble enough to change your mind. These investors have mastered what seems like a paradox. They're confident enough to take positions against the crowd, but humble enough to admit when they're wrong.
That's quite a delicate balance to maintain.
It really is, and that's why the report emphasizes that these attributes aren't just skills, they're habits of mind that need to be cultivated over time. The best investors are essentially lifelong students, constantly refining their approach and adapting to new challenges.
Sounds like these lessons could apply well beyond just investing.
That's exactly right. You know, whether you're making investment decisions or life decisions, these principles of clear thinking, continuous learning, and honest self-assessment are invaluable. It's about developing wisdom, not just knowledge. And that's something we can all strive for. Before we wrap, here's something special. I've always believed institutional insights shouldn't stay locked behind Wall Street paywalls. That's why I created Insight One, a platform that turns decades of market expertise into an interactive learning experience. Whether you're a beginner or a pro, Insight One adapts to your style. Check it out at theinvestmentanalyst.com or your app store today.